All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott, formerly of Rankin Technical College, and as part of my YouTube channel, as you can see on the screen, JPS-Jeff Teaches Programming, which has in it one playlist with about 80 videos in it. Jeff Teaches Programming-Python, that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm up to where I'm actually going through an example that's not mine. That is from realpython.com, where they're building a TicTacToe Python game. So far, I've done part 1 of this. I'm commenting the hell out of it using their comments. And right now, it builds a game. The game isn't functional, and it doesn't do anything, but it does have the grid up there for us. So, as it says down on the bottom here, now we need to think of how to deal with the game's logic. The logic, as it says, will consist of code that processes a player's move and sees whether or not the game is over. In other words, they've won because X either has 3 in a row, horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. O has 3 in a row, horizontally, vertically, or diagonally, or there's been no winner and there are no more moves that you can make. So it's got to be one of those 3 possibilities. So we left up here again and set the tic-tac-toe game. So it says up till this point you put together a suitable game, but now we have to think about the logic. All right, it says several ideas are key. First, you need a valid representation of players and their moves, and you need a higher level class to represent the game itself. So they're going to define some classes here. And as it says, in the first round, we'll define classes to represent players and their moves. They'll be pretty bare bones. In other words, they won't have much in them. All right. It says you can use a few tools to build classes. For example, you can use a data class, and we'll look at that in a bit, or a name tuple, which is what they're going to use here. Instead of using the classic name tuple from the collections module, we'll use the name tuple class from typing as a way to provide this. So there's not going to be a lot in here. This is going to be tic-tac. We're still in TicTacToe.py. All right, so we need to add this at the top from typing. Import named tuple. So let's do that first. Now, one thing is, what that's going to do is it's going to screw up all the line numbers again. All right, so what I'm going to try to do to fix that is the following. All right, and that is I'm just going to put that right here. Okay, so I had a blank line, and I'm just not going to have it there anymore. So let's put in these 2 things. So I'm going to move these down to the bottom of the page here. We already have done our class for tic-tac-toe board. We've got our main, etc. And I want to, whoops, do that. Copy. Let's see how that worked. If that worked. Should go here. All right, let's get rid of this. All right, so we've got this class player named tuple with a label in it, type string, and a color of type string, and 2 moves. Class move with a row, which is an integer, a column, which is an integer, and a label, which is a string. All right. Now, let's take a quick look, because these are both named tuple. So let's take a quick look at what that was. So these are data classes. And it says a new and exciting feature of Python 3.7 is a data class typically containing data, although there aren't really any restrictions. Well, we're not using that, so let's just drop that. And we'll go into this named tuple. All right. So it says Python's collections module provides a factory function called nameTuple, specially designed to make your code more Pythonic. When you are working with tuples, with nameTuple, you create immutable sequence types, meaning they can't be changed, that allow you to access their values using descriptive field names and the dot notation rather than integer indices. So you can read that if you've got a desire to do so. All right. So let's take a look at what's in here. Well, again, we are importing that. That's fine. In here, as it says, we are creating the player class. Well, let's bring that back up. So it won't be lines 7 and 9, but we'll fix it in just a moment. All right, and I'm going to bring this one in right away too. And then we'll go over both of them. All right, so let's look at both of these. So this is lines 194 to 196. And as it says here, it defines the player class, very small. The label attribute will store an X or an O. The color will hold a string with a TKinter color, and I believe that's going to show us whose turn it is, for lack of better words. Then down here in lines 204 to 207, we have the move class. And as it says, we've got a row and we've got col, which hold the coordinates. So in other words, where on the board do we want to move? When you think about it, again, there are 3 rows, technically rows 0, 1, and 2. And there are 3 columns, again, technically columns 0, 1, and 2. All right. The label attribute will hold the sign that identifies the player. So whose turn is it, basically? The dot label, or the label, defaults to an empty string, as you can see, which means that basically that square, I believe it means that that square is available. Whoops. All right. Alrighty. Says with these 2 classes in place, we can now define the class that you'll use to represent the game logic. One thing I don't like about this example is they are throwing everything into the same program, in the same file, which I don't think is a good idea, but that's what they're doing, so I'm going to do it. In this section, we'll define the class to manage the game's logic. It'll take care of processing the move, determining a winner, toggling players back and forth. All right, and it says add the following class right before your TicTacToe board class. All righty. So we're going to have another thing that we're going to be bringing in here. And I think what I'm going to do is, and it's going to take a second or two to do, but that's fine. Come back up to the top here. I'm going to hit enter, bring that in, hit enter again. Places in here, I'm looking at the top, and I'm going to remove everything with the line numbers. So it'll look a little funky on the comments, but that's okay. So I'm already just about done with this anyway, so that's fine. Like I said, I just think it'll read a little nicer, so once we get down to that point, all right, we're just about done now anyway, so. There. Now, I don't think I've got lines in here anymore, but to just quickly check. Oh, I'm wrong. It says there's one left, so. All right, now it says there are nothing else with line numbers, so hopefully that fixed everything. All right, so save all. Now, what we are again supposed to do next is supposed to add this TicTacToe game class right before the board class. So there was our board class. So up above that, we're going to add this. And again, there's some errors here because we haven't identified some things yet, so we will. All right. It says we first import cycle from the iter tools module. Okay, and if we do click on this, as it says, cycle make an iterator, returning elements from the iterable and saving a copy of each, so it allows us to go through something. Then we define the tic-tac-toe game that takes players and board size. Players will hold a tuple of two-player objects, X and O. The argument, as it says, defaults to default players, which we'll define in just a second. So I'm going to grab this, copy that to the clipboard. So here we define tic-tac-toe game, whose initializer takes those two arguments, players and board size. The player's argument will hold a tuple of player arguments, so the X and the O. It'll default, that we're going to look at in just a minute. Okay. Now, one thing I want to mention that they do mention in here is it says the board size will hold the number with the size of the board. This would be a 3, all right, but another constant says you can define soon. Inside the underscore init, it says you define the following instance attributes. All right, so that's going to be these right here. And I'm going to do this but I'm going to do it in here. Like this. Okay. Probably this was a little bit too complex of an example for me to be putting in here. And I'll take that on me. That's okay. So we want to put these in our underscore init. Right in here. Now, getting errors, it looks like. I'm not worried about it either. Okay. Could be that it doesn't want those dots there that I put in. I don't know. All right, but I want to look in here. So it says inside of dot underscore init, you'll define the following instance attributes. Now this we have, don't know if we have a dot underscore init. So let's take a look at the finished product. See if I screwed up. See, theirs actually isn't that big a program because they have very few comments in here, and I put just a boatload of comments in here. So I need the self dot, as you can see, which I don't have right now. So this is in class tic-tac-toe game. All right, so I've screwed that up, so we'll fix that up in just a minute. Okay. App class tic-tac-toe game. See, I put it in board. Okay, we've already got that stuff in here. So why I added it, way beyond me. Okay. All right. So we've added all this stuff in here, and as we go back and look, again, there's the comments, players. Okay, it'll be an iterator over our players. The board size, which will be 3 by 3 by default, but we can change it. Current players, whoever turn it is. Winner combo is the combination of cells that define a winner. So again, whether it's X or Y, that would be either three X's or O's horizontally, 3 X's or O's vertically, or 3 X's or O's diagonally in a row. Current moves, as it says, a list of players' moves in a given game. Has winner a Boolean to determine if there's somebody won or not. And the winning combination, as it says, containing the cell combinations that define the win. All right. It says, now go ahead and define the following constants right below the move class. Don't know that we had a move class. All right. So right up above tic-tac-toe game, we're going to make class move, where we'll put this. Move these over. right, you can see we're identifying some stuff here, such as who's playing. All righty. Says we've already learned the board size will be the size of the board, typically 3. Default players will define a 2-item tuple, all right, representing each table person playing in the game. X will be blue by default. O will be green, which of course you could always change. Okay. All right. Managing the game's state in every moment is a fundamental step. We need to keep track of every move. To do this, you use the current moves attribute, which you'll update every time a player makes a move. Well, what does that mean? That means that every time we make a move, there's one less square available out of the 9 that we have. We also need to determine which cell combinations, all right, represent a win. So here is setup board. So we'll put that on the bottom of TicTacToe game. Okay. Now, after we do this, probably if I run the program, I'm going to get an error because I'm sure there's at least something that either hasn't been defined, like default players here, or hasn't been defined correctly. All right. But the point is, if you remember, when we ran this before, like I said, now if we run this, we're probably going to get an error. All right. It probably won't run. But when we did this before and we got our board that was up here, all right. So if you see a TicTacToe board as an example, like I said, I think we're going to have errors in here. Yeah. Yeah, this stuff isn't defined. So let's just do this. Let's go back to here. Let's go to images. All right, go to Google Images, and I'm going to put it here, TicTacToe. So when you think about this, all right, yeah, we can look at any of these. Let's look at the empty one. And there's really, how do you win? Well, you win with 3 X's or O's this here, 3 X's or O's here, 3 X's or O's here, or O's here. That's 3 ways to win. 3 X's or O's in a row here, 3 X's or O's in a row here, 3 X's or O's in a row here. That's 3 more ways. 3 X's or O's diagonally, 3 X's or O's diagonally. So really there's 8 different ways that you can possibly, conceivably win a game. All right? So as it says, on a classic tic-tac-toe board, you have 8 possible winning combinations. And here they are. Rows going across, columns going up and down, and diagonal or diagonal. It says, how would you use the coordinates, doing that here? Well, we'd have to define, as it says, winning combinations. So this is inside of TicTacToe game. So we're still here. Let's get down to the bottom. Put that in. Okay. So those, as it says, those are our possible winning combinations. Now I guess I'm lightening up quite a bit on the comments here. So with these, let's do this. We've got this here. Come on. So this is define setup board. That's there. So let's bring this in. It's okay. All right, now let's go to the get winning combos and let's put a couple comments in there as well. We've already gone over this, but as it says, on a classic tic-tac-toe board, what you'll have is 8 ways to win. All right, we've already kind of started talking about these already. They're 3 across diagonally, 3 across vertically, or 3 across diagonally. So it says, how would you get these? There's several ways to do it. We're going to use exactly what we just talked about. So we use, try that again. We use 4 list comprehensions to get all the possible winning combinations, and that's right in there. So that's going to check all 8 of those possibilities. I'm not going to put all these in there, but okay. So process the player's moves on the game's logic. Now this is going a lot faster. I'm only at 30 minutes in, so maybe I can finish it in this lecture. I don't know. In this tic-tac-toe game, you'll mostly handle one type of event, players moved. Translated to TKinter's terms, a player's move is just a click on a cell, which is represented by a button widget. Every player's move will trigger a bunch of operations. We'll have to validate the move. In other words, I can't click a square that's already got something in it. I'll have to check for a winner. I'll have to check if it's over and someone won, if it's over and the game's tied. And if it's not over, toggling for the next player for the next move. All right. So let's start with tic-tac-toe game, as they say right here. So let's do it like this. Let's see. So I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to start by going into tic-tac-toe game, and then I'm going to put that in just a minute. So again, we are in tic-tac-toe game here. All right, I'm going to put in the comment. So as it says, every player's move will trigger a bunch of corresponding operations on the tic-tac-toe class. Those operations then include validating the move, checking for a winner, checking for the game being tied and over. So both these, the second and third one, are checking for the game being finished. And if the game's not finished, toggling it so we can see who goes next. All right. So this will be validating the move. Next. Let's do it like this, I think. All right, so there's the is valid move. Next should be checking for the winner. Next, we'll be checking for a tied game. Well, whatever, we need this one anyway. We'll put that one underneath here. And I guess that's there, so that's the tied. No problem. So, this checking for a tied game, move this down here. And I'm going to take this, move that up to here, like this. There we go. All right, checking for a tied game. And finally, as it says, toggling between turns. All right. All right. This is much bigger undertaking than I thought it was going to be. If I would have known this, I probably wouldn't have done it. But now that we're this far, so at this point, you'll be able to handle the player's moves on the game. Now you have to connect the logic to the game board itself. You also need to write the code to make the board respond to the player's move. First, go ahead and inject the game logic into the game board. To do this, update the board to do this. So at the bottom, we need to make these two changes in our TicTacToe board. So this was our board. So in here, we were just passing in self. We're going to change it to self in game. That's gray because we're not using it right now. All right, so let's add that line to use it. I've screwed this up royally. There, we got it. That's where we should be. So right under self.cells, right here, we'll add this. There we go. All right, so that's going to basically set up our game. So let's see what else we have here. Under the create board, we have to change our for loops. I think we have a create board grid in there. Create board display. Create board grid rather. Oops, still want to do that. So create board grid. Okay. So we've got this for loop in here that we're going to change now to this. And again, remember we said earlier we were going to allow you to change the size of this. And the other for loop. Notice we got min size of 50, 75. That's still in there. Okay. Now we'll change this for loop. Okay. All right. So the next thing that's in here, as it says, is handling a player's move event. The main loop method on the TK class runs what's known as the application's main loop or event loop. This is an infinite loop in which all GUI events happen. Inside this loop, you can handle basically all the events of the user's application's GUI, graphical user interface. When a player in the TicTacToe game clicks a cell, the cell event, as it says, occurs inside of this loop. Go back and we have to add play at the end of our class. So for the play, we have to change this to self and event. Add the following play method at the end of the class. So it looks like we want this whole thing in our TicTacToe board. Here's the board. So this should be our board class, right? Yep. All right. Okay. So we will need a comment here, but that's what we're adding is that play. It's right there. Okay. So this method is fundamental in the game because it puts together the game logic and the behavior. So it's doing a tying together of the two, for lack of better words. All right. It says we're almost there. With a few more updates and additions, we should be there. Okay. The next step is to connect every button with the play method. Go back to your create board grid and update it as shown. Okay, there's create board grid. And right under self dot underscore cells button is row column. So right underneath this, I want to add that. And it says, put in that comment there. This binds the click event of every button on the game board with the play method. So again, we're establishing means of communication. This way, as it says, whenever a player clicks a button, it's going to check and it's going to see if that button is empty. If it's empty and it's X's turn, it'll put an X there. If it's empty and it's O's turn, it'll put an O there. If there's something there, it should not allow anything to happen. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. So update the game board to reflect the game state. To complete the code, you need to write 3 helper methods. These methods will complete the following actions. So this is going to be under board. So we're going to go to the TicTacToe board and we're going to go down to the bottom. So we're at the TicTacToe board here. We're going to go down to the bottom. All right, we'll go down to here. And I'm going to put in this. So this is the comment that's going to explain. To complete the processing for players' moves, on the game board, we need to write 3 helper methods. These helper methods will complete the following actions. So this will be the first one. Update the click button. Then we will write the second one, or bring in the second one. Update the game display. Then we'll bring in the third one, which will be to highlight the winning cell. So let's bring each one of these in turn. All right. Oops. All right, now I'm not sure if it's not showing me any error. Oh, it is showing me a couple errors. One here of the player and one here. So it's where we've got all this stuff. Players, default players, board size. Okay. We'll fix it in just a bit. All right, it says we should be able to run it, but then we'll get us down to here. So let's go do this. I'm going to come here, and I'm going to find players, player, default player, and board size, but not in here, but in here. Class player. Well, it's in there a lot of places. class move, I don't know if I put this in there or not. So that's in class move. Looks like there I did not. All right, and hopefully that's going to remove some of the errors that I have. Does not look like it though. We need default players and we need board size. There's default players and there's board size and there's players. So I'm wondering if the reason that I've still got the error in here is I'm going to have to come over here and find main. So here's where we're defining main. And down here. So I'm going to try to grab this, all of this, put it at the bottom. But it does not look as though that fixed my errors. And it's still down there at the bottom as well, so that looks like I did that correctly. So that looks like it is correct, but I'm still getting 4 errors here. Get rid of that. Bring that back in. Still is, it's not finding player. Default players and board size. This is move. I thought I moved part of my, no joke intended, but I thought I move down towards the bottom. There's move. So let's get rid of class move that we have here. I'm going to take this whole thing and comment it out. All right, now I still have an error according to this. That is default players and board size. Where did I put class move in here? Class move, that's right there. These two should be right at the top, player and move. I think player is already there. It is not. All right, so let's do this. We're going to get rid of this right here. I'm going to go back into here, grab all of this, copy it over like that. Okay. down to the bottom where I put that class move and get rid of it. Now I want to take the comment for the move class and I want to move that up to the top. Okay. I'm seeing one error, it looks like here. Okay, I've gotten rid of all those other errors. So file, let's do this, remove that. And that, come on. There we go. File. Save. All right, I want to go and finish the rest of this up. Provide options to play again and to exit. So we're going to put in a main menu. So right after the board, or in the board, we're going to put in a main menu. So in our tic-tac-toe board at the bottom, we're going to put in a main menu. This is the game. This is the board. Down at the bottom here of the board. So there's the menu. All right. And let's just grab the comment from here. Like I said, I've become much more conservative with the comments in here now. So to add a menu, you can use the menu class, which allows you to create a menu at the top of your window. It also allows you to add drop-down menus to the menu bar. Shown below is the code that creates and add a main menu to your tic-tac-toe game. Okay. In board, after self.game equal game, we need to call self.create menu. That was way up on the top here. This is in board and it's right after. Right after that. Create menu. Okay. Implement the play again option. Back in the tic-tac-toe game in the code, enter the following menu right at the end of the class. So right at the end of tic-tac-toe game class, add this. There's the board. I think the game was on top of the board, was it not? Or game was on top. There's game, so. Again, this is just so big with all this code. Not that it's bloat code, but it just is very hard to read. Okay. Once you've provided the new functionality of the game logic, you're ready to update the board functionality. Add the following method to the end of TicTacToe board. Is that the one I just put in? Reset board? No, that's reset game. So add this to the file to the end of TicTacToe board. There's TicTac board class. So we're down to here. Like that. Let's put a comment up above that. And all right. Let's grab all these, put these in. And it says we're done. So we'll see. All right. Now I'm going to get a bunch of errors here. Don't worry about that. I'm going to fix them right now. All right, but I'm giving me boatloads of errors in here, which isn't good. There we go. Let's see. So file, save all. Let's try to run it and see if I can play a game of tic-tac-toe. No, I cannot. Missing one required parameter. Line 409 in main. Board equal tic-tac-toe board. The init is missing an argument. Oh, son of a gun. Oops. see now if we've got any errors. That's a good start. Well, I've got everybody's X. That isn't good. Play again. We can exit. That's good, but the O's are not working. Let me, well, we're at over an hour already, so let me pause, and I'm going to see if I can figure out why. Well, the problem is that in here, all I did was define player X. So if I come in here and do another player, label equal O, color equal green, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use green and I'm going to use here gold. That should be in double quotes. Let's see if that fixes it or not. Tie game, that's correct. X1, that's correct. O1, that's correct. So, a lot of garbage in here. Made this probably a lot harder than it had to be. All right, but I'm going to save this. All right, and that'll be it for this one. Again, they're rock, paper, scissors. I have no idea what it looks like. I don't want to do this. Make your first game rock, paper, scissors. I'll tell you what. Theirs might be a lot better than mine is, but I've already written mine. So what I am going to do then is that's open, but I've got all this. So I've now got the TicTacToe GUI in here. Might not be great, but it is in there, and I don't need this one. This is the one that, well, I'll leave it in there. That's authors. We'll change it to authors. Authors version.py, okay? And when I come back, I'm going to do the rock, paper, scissors. All right, so I'll be back with that shortly. Thanks.